Alright, welcome back. This is James again, also known as the Ill Reserve. I will be going over part 22 of What If Deku was born with a hybrid quirk. In the last part, we left off with Izuku's conversation with Ida and his brother. So this week, the next, they had gone to check in at the hotel and everything, and then the next morning, Mitsuki, Izuku, and Kitsuri are go to the hospital and everything, and visit Ida's brother, and Tensei asks what are you guys doing here, and Tenya tells Tensei that my friend here, you may have seen him on the news, but he might be able to help you out, at least get you to where you can do physical therapy to gain your ability to walk again. And Tensei's like, yeah, but didn't last time he did something like that, it hurt him and he was in a coma for a while. Weren't you worried about that? And Tinya tells Tensei, yeah, I am worried about it, but he's the one that approached me about it, and he says he can't heal you fully, but he can at least heal the broken bone and somewhat reattach the he can heal the break in your spinal cord. And Izuku's sitting there, and then he picks up Katsuri and he's like, you want to help Bubba out real quick, and don't worry, it's not gonna hurt me. All I need you to do is take this and just poke my hand. And she's a little worried, and when she does, blood comes out, she starts crying. It's I'm sorry, Bubba, I didn't want to hurt you. And Izuku's it's all right, Suri-chan. Just watch. This is how my quirk works, and how I healed your knee that one time. Remember when you fell off the swing and you scraped your knee? It's this is how I did it. And so he basically pulls Tensei's shirt up, and sorry about that. I'm trying to get this recorded at work and had a customer come up to the counter. So that being said, I believe I was where Izuku had Suri-chan kind of poke his hand with this surgical knife, and he was kind of guiding her. And then, because he had talked to Mitsuki about this, and he told her, is I'm concerned about Katsuri. It seems like she's worried about me, and I think this would help her out. It may upset her at first, but it's something I think she needs to see. So they pull up Tensei's shirt, and they kind of put him on his side, and Izuku places his hand over his his back, and he breathes in, breathes out, and on the fourth time, he says damage transfer, damage displacement, and there's a faint glow of light, and Izuku's hand becomes numb, and Hitsuri sees that his hand is healed and everything, and she's like, what is that? And he's like, well, when I use my quirk, I'm basically taking the damage from someone else and redirecting all the damage. But coincidentally, the damage that I received by cutting myself is healed. And she's like, oh, so that's how. So you're okay, right? And he kind of like hugs her and he's like, yes, I'm fine. And Tensei's like, I can feel my toes. I can feel my toes. And like he's able to like kind of move his ankle and his legs a little bit. He can't stand just yet. And he's like, tells him like, whoa, you shouldn't stand up. Like I didn't heal you completely. You're still gonna need some physical therapy. And Tinya's like, yeah, big bro, like what he told me last night, basically it as you to make a full recovery, that's gonna be on you. But he at least gave you a fighting chance to where you wouldn't be permanently paralyzed. And Izuku tells him, like, I really would like it if you didn't, like if this didn't really get out. And like the doctor comes in and like sees Tensei like moving his feet and toes, and he's like, "What's going on here?" and everything. And Izuku kind of turns to the doctor and says, "You've probably seen me before." And they're like, "Yes, but," and he's like, "Well, don't tell anyone I was like, don't tell them that this is what happened. I just came to see like a friend's brother. Came with a friend and everything." And I was able to heal him a little bit, like do some minor repair to his spinal cord, but he's not out of the woods. It's gonna be up to you guys to get him back to 100%. And Tensei is just like kind of like him and Tenya had like kind of broken down, because like Tensei would have been permanently paralyzed and never been able to walk, and Izuku basically gave him a chance to like recover completely. And Tensei was like thanking Izuku and everything. And Izuku just flat out says, like, there's no reason to thank me. Like, you're one of my friends, like, family, and you're a fellow hero. And aren't heroes supposed to help out if they can? Like, heroes are supposed to help people out, even, like, try to help people out to the best of their abilities. And, well, I'm not completely recovered myself, but I could at least do this for you. And he's like, maybe like maybe next year I can completely finish the job and everything, and by that time you should be recovered enough to where it's just a simple, like, you still have like some bruising and stuff like that, and like that's just a simple fix. And so this has kind of helped Katsuki and Izuku's like little sister, like, because she really was worried about Izuku, and she knew what, she kind of knew what his quirk was, but she never really saw it and like actually comprehend it. And he, like, on the ride back to UA and everything, Katsuri's just sitting there like asking him a bunch of questions and stuff like this, and Ida's kind of like, it's making him think back to when he was a little kid. Him and Tensei were kids, and how his big brother kind of acted like Izuku towards him, like how he acts towards Katsuri. So like Ingenium is on his road to recovery. It's going to take a minimum of at least a year for him to like get back to where he can walk like properly. But like as far as running and using his quirk the way he is, that's several years off. But Izuku will come back in a year and finish the job once he's recovered, because he basically said, like, he's basically telling people that he can't do that again, like, anytime soon, otherwise it would kill him. And he obviously didn't say this in front of his little sister, but after Mitsuki drops them off at the dorm, like, Katsuki's like there at the front door meeting him, and Katsuri just basically runs up to him, and some of the students at the school, everything, see like this little girl just jump into Katsuki's arms, and they're like, who is this? And then Momo, Kendo, Uraka, and yeah, Kirishima met her because he came over to the house like a couple times, and Kirishima like basically pipes up and says, "Well, that's Izuku and Katsuki's little sister," and like the ones that didn't know he had a sister was like, "Wait, they have a younger sibling." They don't talk about like having younger sibling, and like in Momo basically says, well, that's probably because they want to like kind of like shelter her and everything, because you gotta think Izuku and and Ida are come from like hero families, and Todoroki's like, yeah, like I wish people didn't know who my father was. I could be my own person then. And then they kind of get why they didn't talk about it, like their family outside of the ones that they've already met and everything. And the ones that are deceased now, because Izuku's like embraced like what happened to his mother. So Kanseiri's like, I got to see Big Bro Izuku like use his quirk. It was kind of like I still am like a little worried, but I feel better now. And like Katsu's like, well, like I this weekend do you want to like hang out with me? Like I can take you flying and everything. And he looks at Mitsuki and like asks, like, and if it's okay with Mom, I can take you to the gym with some special permission and help you out with your quirk a little bit. And she's like, yay, like, that's awesome. And so like that weekend, like Katsuki will like hang out with his little sister and like basically help her out with her quirk a little bit more. Like basically being like a good big brother, and he with what Izuku like showed her, like she's still like a little upset that she like cut him, but she understands that that was a necessity of him using his quirk, and he explained like how it exactly works, and she's like, so that's why Big Bubba was asleep for a while. And Izuku was like, yeah, but that's why I had to sleep for a while, because I was just it took a lot out of me. Like the more hurt someone is, the more energy and stamina I have to expand to like heal them. So like the day ends and Izuku like is sitting in the common area. Kendo, Momo, and Kirishima and Shiro like walk up to him and everything, and they're like, we heard from Katsuki that you were thinking about a club. And they were like, well, and he's like, yeah, like, but I don't know, like, I'm not sure, like, we should, like, I'm trying to think if, like, who would be the best teachers. And honestly, from the meeting last night, it really does seem like Aizawa Sensei and Vlad Sensei are, like, the best fits for it. And they're like, what do you mean? And it was like, and then he looks at him and he's like, he looks at Mopo or Rocket and Kendo, and he's like, you guys remember that building we went to at my mom's beach? And I'm like, yeah. And it's like, well, the quirk rooms there should be operational soon. And I was asked by Nezu if they can, like Vlad and Aizawa Sensei, that if they could use the facilities like maybe like once like a week or once every month to like help students like with their quirks, because it is pretty advanced rooms. It's specially designed to help people improve their quirks. Like we have facilities for people with super strength. And Izuku kind of looks at Ishida and she's like, yeah, and we have like a special room for people with quirks like you that are destructive in nature. Like they're super durable, and like it's basically a special room that only like a handful of people will let in because of how expensive stuff's in there. And they kind of look at it and they're like, wait, you say we, and then Momo kind of pipes up and is like, so this is what you've been using those funds for. And Izuku like kind of gulps and is like, wait, you know about that? And she's like, yeah, like whose parents do you think owns like the majority of the company? And everyone besides the people that are like Kirishima and Ishida are kind of like looking at this and they're like, wait, Izuku, you're rich? And he's like, yeah, I kind of own 2% of Momo's family's company. Like, mom bought it and she left it to me in her will and all these other things. And like, so that's how. Wait, what? It makes no sense. Like, says Kirishima, like, I've been over to your guys' family home. Like, you guys don't live in a big house. And Izuku's like, yeah, that's mostly mom's idea because she doesn't want Kitsuri growing up, like, thinking she's better than everyone. And she didn't really I didn't really find out about this until, like, this year, like, on my birthday. And me and Kotsky had already thought about opening up our own training facility after interactions with boss, and like Izuku's like, oh crap, I shouldn't have said that. And then he explains that about the licenses and stuff like that his company had to get, and they basically are looking for like permanent staff, but in the meantime he was like he got like Nezu gave him approval to like use the building for the club that he wanted to start. And they're like, what club? And he goes, you know how I've been helping you guys with your quirks and everything and like giving you guys advice? Well, I like me and Kotsky, I kind of wanted to start a club to improve everyone else's, because quite frankly, if me and Kotsky went all out, like, we could probably take on all the first years and second years combined. And Uraraka and Ichido kind of like say that can't be true, and then Kotsky like pipes up and is like, you guys saw the news, right? Like, you saw like what happened with Izuku, right? And they're like, yeah, like what, like it doesn't seem like he's that strong. And he's like, well, put it this way: if All Might hadn't like if he hadn't gotten stronger because of something that we can't really talk about here in the dorms, Izuku would be more powerful than All Might. And this kind of shocks everyone, like even Momo and Kendo. And they're like, how do you know this? And Katsu's like, well, I've seen Izuku when he goes all out. He's not like, why do you think I kind of just laugh it off and everything? And I'm constantly like training, and it's like, and they're like, yeah, like, why do you constantly do that? And it's like, well, so I can keep up with this fool. Like, his quirk develops at an alarming rate. Like, ever since we were kids, like, it just seemed like he was always one step ahead of me, and then like one day I caught up to him, and it's just been hell. It's kind of been hell trying to keep up with him. And Izuku kind of laughs, and he's like, Kajan, like that's kind of funny because I've been thinking the same thing, and like everyone just starts laughing because like these two just really have this strong rivalry. And then Todoroki kind of like overheard the thing about the club, and he like approaches Deku, and he's like, Izuku, can we talk? And he's like, well, we can talk here. And he's like, no, I kind of like it's stuff I want to speak to you in private about. And he's like, yeah, fine. And it's like, just give me a moment. And he tells Momo and Kendo he wants to speak with them after he's done with Todoroki. And he, like, him and Todoroki basically go outside on, like, in the, like, it showed it in the anime, and I can't remember if it ever showed it in the comics, but I know they did show it in the anime where there's, like, this garden area attached to the dorm, and Todoroki and Izuku like go out there, and Todoroki's like, I heard that you wanted to start that thing, and also he like touches like the left side of his face, and it's like, I thanks, man. And Izuku's like, no problem, dude. Like, I get it. I was going through some stuff, and it just like I said some things I shouldn't have. It's just both of my parents are gone, and I've just been fortunate to have family that I could count on that took me in. When you still have your mom around, like, I wish I could speak to my mother again. And Izuku like kind of tears up at this, and Todoroki's like, no, like, I apologize. Like, I kind of needed it, and thanks for the scar. It really helped out things with my mom. And Izuku's like, so is she, like, what's going on with her? And he's like, well, she's doing better, and it's just it's gonna be a while before everything's fine. And Izuku like says, well, what about you and Endeavor? And he's like, that's a totally different story. Like, I don't think we'll ever have like a father-son relationship, but he may be a jerk and he may be a hard ass, but he is one of the best like fire quirk users around. So I guess I gotta have to like accept his side of like my quirk and like learn from him how he uses it, because he's the best one to learn from. And then Todoroki's like, so like, I overheard the club and I want to join. And Izuku's like, kind of laughs a little bit, and Todoroki's like, what are you laughing? Are you laughing at me? And Izuku's like, no, like, I actually was gonna like speak to you tomorrow about that, because me and Konski like have like really been looking at you, and like you have phenomenal control over your eyesight, and with your ice and your fire, like I think if with some training, like you could potentially use like either side of your quirk from any part of your body. And Todoroki kind of like looks at Izuku and is like, what, you think that's possible? And Izuku's like, yeah, like it is possible, but it may be possible, but I'm not entirely sure, because like you haven't really used your fire side. And this is when Todoroki looks at him and he's like, I guess the rumors were true about you. And he's like kind of laughs and is like, what rumors? And Todoroki says that he's heard from like a few from a few 2B students like in the lunchroom, and like a few like the other classmates. and basically pointing into the group that was in the living room with him that they kind of improved on their quirks. Like, they saw like a lot of improvement, basically like hanging out with you, like, and you really think of a lot of different ways to use your quirks. And Izuku's like, yeah, I kind of had to with like the nature of my quirk, because like I've got to think like all the time like different ways to use my quirks, because if I don't, I could unintentionally do something and hurt someone. And this shocks Todoroki. He's like, what do you mean? And he's like, when like All Might said in his interview with the press and everything, me and Kotsky really didn't have a lot of control over our quirks when we were younger, and we kind of hurt each other. And like, I one time accidentally like broke Auntie's like finger, like slapping her hand away from me, and Todoroki's like, okay, well, we don't have to really talk about that if you don't. And Izuku's like, no, it's fine. It's just, I don't know. Like, I still feel all the sadness and everything, but ever since the coma, like, in like the dreams that I had during that, I don't know. It's like I've come to accept that they happen, even though the pain's still there, but it's kind of like I've moved on, but not really. And Todoroki like kind of looks at it and he's like, yeah, I kind of get that. It's kind of the same thing that's going on with me and Mom. Like, it's gonna be weird. It's just weird and complicated. And Izuku kind of laughs. And this is where Izuku and Todoroki like really start to become friends. Like, before, they were just like classmates, and Todoroki like says that you and Kosuke are really like the reason I started using my fire side, because I saw how strong you guys are, and then the sports festival, it made me realize like if I don't use my full strength, I could never catch up with you two. And Izuku thanks him about that, and so Izuku they come back in the dorm and everything, and then he meets up with Momo and Kendo, and he basically like sits them down and everything, and he's like, okay, I've been trying to figure out how to do this. If it's okay with you two, can I try it with you guys? And Momo and Kendo are kind of like, what are you talking about? And Izuku basically like has like two blood tendrils coming out of his hands, and he kind of marks them on their forehead. And they're like, what are you doing? And then, like, he says, without speaking, without moving his mouth, it's like, I think my quirk evolved again. And they're looking at him, it's like, and Kendo's like, wait, did you just speak? And Momo's like, but your mouth didn't move. And then Izuku's like, yeah, apparently I can communicate like telepathically with the people that I've marked or bonded with. And Momo and Kendo are like, so what is this about? And he's like, well, it kind of helps me like explain a few things, and I haven't even told Kotsky this, but I think I'm related to that woman that was on the news. I don't know how to explain it, but it feels like we're connected. Like I'm connected with Kotsky and All Might. And they're like, what do you mean about that? And someone comes by and just sees these three like sitting there, and Momo and Kendo are like talking to Izuku, and he's not speaking, and they're just like weird and just keep walking. And Izuku's like, you know, you guys don't have to speak, right? Like, you can just talk with your mind. And they're like, yeah, but like, it's weird. And then they're like, but why we wouldn't be able to hear what the other person's saying, right? And Izuku's like, well, that's the thing. If I can mark people and then talk to them, but I can also act as like a hub for said ability. And so like they begin to have a conversation, and like they go and they're asking him like, so is there a range or a limit to this? And he's like, well, I've never really tested it, and it's weird with Kotsky. I don't know like how it works, but like, so I apologize about the pause, and I just realized this video is like over 30 minutes. So I'm going to end this portion of the video, and then we're going to pick up right here in the next part. So give me about an hour after this upload, and I will have the second part to this, like part B.